I said good morning. My name is Kim Watson, and this is my son, Liam. First of all, thank you, Dr. Buck, for taking the time and arranging this very important board meeting. I appreciate all the board members' dedication and commitment to the Board of Education. And you certainly threw me for a loop this morning. I had everything all planned as to what I was going to say. And then I woke up to see that you are actually trying to make some progress. Liam is in 3rd grade at Marsh Point, and I am here today to advocate for Liam and emphasize the importance of putting together a concrete plan with dates that are solid and soon and not contingent on a number to get these special kids back into school, which it looks like you are working on. The virtual learning platform has not only been very unsuccessful, but it also has caused detrimental regression to this young man and other young men just like him. Many of you may be familiar with our names and Liam's story. I have sent many an email in the past few weeks. Thank you for providing me the time this morning to speak to you. And thank you to all of you who have taken the time to read my emails and respond with an original response. I greatly appreciate it. You tell him, buddy. I was here for the board meeting last week, and I listened to parents just like me beg you for choices. What? You want to tell him something? Yes. Tell him you want to go to school? You need to go to school to learn? Yes. Well, those parents last week begged you for choices that we as parents know are best for our children. I heard some of you imply in your wrap-up that we parents want to send our children to school to play so Betsy can play with Sally. I'm here to tell you, I don't want Liam to go to school so he can play. I want Liam in school so he can learn and receive the services you as a district legally promised him. There is absolutely no way he can learn over the internet. He will not engage. He gets frustrated. And the platform is just too challenging for a child with Down syndrome. The challenge to focus on a task and having a short attention span are challenges kids with DS face. The importance of a routine and consistency is paramount for these kids to succeed. This platform simply does not work for children with special needs, and I don't understand how you as a board and the superintendent ever thought these children's IEPs could ever be met. According to IDEA, Liam is required by law to receive a free and appropriate education. Dr. Nicole Berkins has published many an article and a fantastic video, and if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to look it up. She states how, in fact, this platform is completely inappropriate for children with special needs. Dr. Gunther, last week, his words were so powerful and his statistics were just moving. Liam's IEP also states that he is to receive speech and OT at school. Again, there is absolutely no way to conduct either of these services over the internet. Therefore, the district is in violation of Liam's legal rights. This is why I encourage you to consider allowing special needs children face-to-face at least 2 full days a week if there are under 10 children per classroom. Liam has made great gains in his education at Marsh Point. He has an amazing team there, and there is nothing more his teachers or paras could do. Liam, myself, his dad, and my parents have invested 8 years to make sure that adorable man, little boy, can grow up and live in a successful, independent, and healthy life. And it kills me more than I can express to any of you to watch all of that hard work, Liam's hard work, fade in front of my eyes. And no, it's not Liam's fault, and it's not my fault, but it's the people who legally promised to serve him and give him what he needs. I heard some of you say that you can't send 36,000 students plus faculty back to school with a clear conscience. I would think you knowing you are the reason these children are failing and regressing would have a much heavier weight on your conscience. Please, I beg you to give these children a chance. I understand these are very hard and confusing and challenging times. There is no one-size-fits-all solution, and there is no way to make all the parents and all the teachers happy. But there is a way to get these kids back in the classroom safely 2 days a week, and do what is right and do what is in with Liam's legal rights. I'm going to wrap up and say Liam's father, my husband, would be here. However, he is active duty. He is also in the medical field. The Army can't stop because of COVID. They figured out a way to continue to safely deploy and protect this great nation. That gives me hope that you all can come together and find a way to get our kids what they need and deserve. My husband's unit has a motto. It's NSDQ. Night Stalkers don't quit, and neither will this mom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Watson. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Ma'am, we appreciate you being here too, son.
Thank you.
Next, as soon as we're ready, Ms. Edenfield.
You can say bye. Say bye. Tom, can you move? No, you're finished, buddy. You can say bye.
Bye-bye, Liam. Have a grandson, Liam. Is Ms. Edenfield coming up here? I know, I see her, but she's going to be showing a video.
Can you give this to Ms. Davis Brown for anybody who wants them? Yes, sir. Ms. Davis Brown, I've also made a few edits. So when I get home, I'll type the edits in and get you a new copy.
Welcome, Ms. Edenfield.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to keep my mask on because if we're asking teachers to teach in the masks, I think that's the least I can do for 5 minutes. So if you can't hear me, maybe give me a thumbs up and I'll try to speak louder. Can everybody hear me right now? Okay. All right, Mr. Hediger, I'm ready. The slides that you're about to see are parents who are happy with the virtual learning system. They've all granted me permission to have these photos in the public domain. There is nary a day when there aren't COVID deaths in Chatham County. If you fling the doors wide open and pressure teachers to go back in person, teaching before it is safe, our death rate will increase across the board in Chatham counties and extending past our borders. Chatham has reported 4 new coronavirus deaths in one day, including a 26-year-old man. It is well documented by the CDC that coronavirus is killing Hispanic, Black, and American Indian children at much higher numbers than their white peers. No matter how much we stamp our feet and demand it, we can't have normal right now. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. Yes, there were mistakes at first. This is new for everyone. And as we go along, everyone is learning how to do virtual school better. Yes, there are shortages of needed items such as computers, but the demand nationwide is great. Many Chromebooks and other technology are stuck in warehouses and embargoed due to Trump's trade war with China. Small chips made in China need to be replaced with American-made chips before they are allowed to be distributed to schools that have already paid for them. District staff are doing their best to meet the needs of our students. Yes, we need bold leadership, someone who can make the hard decisions, and we have that with Dr. Levette. She is exhibiting bold leadership by making the decision to do virtual learning. It would have been easier to open the doors the first week of August, but she made the bold decision that is being discussed today. The school system is not responsible for our children's play dates, or their anxiety and depression, or their emotional health and social interactions. or your child care needs while you work, or any other multitude of reasons why people think our superintendent should put over 44,000 lives at risk. Public schools are supposed to educate our children and keep them safe. That is what is happening across Chatham County. While it takes a village to raise a child, the sole responsibility of that village should not and cannot fall on the shoulders of the school system. You can't task the school system with solving all that ails society. There is not a budget for that. And every time there is talk about raising the millage rate, people lose their shit. We would need to double and triple the millage rate to even attempt to accomplish what everyone wants. With schools opening in Florida, COVID cases among children have jumped 26% this month. I understand that you can't compare Georgia to Florida, just like you can't compare Chatham County to surrounding counties or private schools. Each county is unique, and it's much different to open one school where parents can donate a new air filtration system versus 42 separate campuses with 38,000 children and nearly 6,000 staff members at risk of dying from COVID. There will be a time when in-person school should resume. It is not now. Too many teachers are at risk of getting sick and dying. We are in the middle of a global pandemic with rudderless state and nationwide leadership. Fortunately, we have a mayor and superintendent who are following the science. Yes, things suck right now. Again, we are in the middle of a global pandemic. It's not supposed to be easy. And until everyone comes together to make sacrifices, like during World War II, this virus will continue to leave carnage in its wake. COVID has already killed more Americans than World War I, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War, and little less than half the number of Americans who died in World War II. And we are only 6 months in. It is time to start realizing COVID is killing Americans that we need to make sacrifices. This is my great-grandmother's war ration book from 1943. I have kept it close by hand while this pandemic to remind me of what it truly means to be American. This is what we need right now as a country to fight this virus, collective sacrifice. And while we keep students at home for virtual learning is hard, it is the collective sacrifice we need right now to fight the war on coronavirus. Teachers are overworked, underpaid, and in short supply. Now we would consider them acceptable fodder in the war on coronavirus. Having a teacher shortage due to COVID death, attrition, and early retirements due to the fact that people are fearful of opening the buildings and dangerous to our students. Teachers teaching those same students virtual is at worst a minor temporary inconvenience. Teachers are willing to take a bullet for their students because in the age of school shootings, that is what the job now requires. But in the wake of this pandemic, they do not want to be put into a situation where they are taking a COVID bullet home to their families, and we shouldn't ask them to. I encourage all of you to vote in favor of the resolution today and support Dr. Levette with the caveat that no teacher will be forced into the classroom. Any other action by this board would likely be considered to be board overreach by SACS, and we don't want to go down that path again.
Thank you very much, Ms. Edenfield. We appreciate your comments. Thank you, Ms. Linda. Ms. Pipes? I'm sorry? I wish I wouldn't keep changing on here. Mr. Ellison? Go ahead, sir.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Rick Ellison. I'm the president of RUF. I don't know if you know what RUF is, but it's Retired United for the Future. You've seen me before. I think this is all above our pay grade. Ours, meaning everybody, because this is an invisible airborne killer. I haven't been out since March. This is one of the first times I've been out. I go to the grocery store once a month because I'm 69. I also have leukemia, which is in remission, but that puts my immune system seriously at risk. I've missed all baseball games. I've missed all golf. I've missed bowling, and I'm also a CASA member. I don't know if you know what CASA is, but it's Court Appointed Special Assistant. I haven't been able to visit the children since March, and that just tears me up. But I'm telling you, this thing is serious, and I know I appreciate each and every one of you for what you're trying to do, but it's just too early to even consider going back to school. I think they need to be a limited, how do I say, the computer school. That's just my 2 cents. I honestly want you to know that I don't want this to happen because of the flu season coming on, and combined with this virus, it's a pandemic. It hasn't been finished yet. Okay, I'm done. But I just want you to know I appreciate everything you have all done, and I hope you will consider what I said.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ellison. We appreciate your being here today. Number 4 on our list has canceled because of a death in the family. Oh, I'm sorry, she's here after all. I don't know why we even have lists. Somebody just tell me who's going to speak when they speak. I like order. We have Alderwoman Linda Wilder Bryant. Welcome, Alderwoman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
No, got 5 minutes, and so I'll talk quickly. You happen to be in the 3rd district, and so I bring you greetings from the 3rd district, where we have elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. And so I just want to, for the sake of time, just read off this. So we've got what it takes, but it will take everything we've got, my friends. Everything takes time. The problem is we do have the time, and we can't give up easily when we don't see the results instantly. Results happen over time, not overnight. We got to work hard and stay consistent and be patient. It's going to take a lot of little steps to be able to navigate through these uncharted waters. If we're interested and we do what is not convenient, and I know we're committed, we'll have the tools to do what it takes. So with that being said, I have a greater appreciation for all of you elected bodies, and I mean that sincerely.
I bet.
We're all going through these uncharted waters, and who would know that we would be here right now? So with that being said, I don't want to come off as a racist, but we know that these choice schools are privileged schools, and they are the ones that are hollering and screaming the loudest. And it's not about racial discrimination, it's about economic discrimination. And so the standards and conditions that you have in place are just unrealistic. First of all, we're going through this climate where kids are going to bring into, in addition to what's going on, colds and flus. And I don't understand how people can be so selfish and not follow the science. The science continues to change. At first it says that children were not going to be affected. And I can tell you, this gray hair, I checked off a lot of those boxes. I take care of my elderly mother. And so we are bringing in all of these influences because we don't know how people live in their households. But we know these children, if they are allowed to go back to school, they're going to bring back these this COVID in communities where we are just disproportionately dying. And we're not taking this test. And you have this condition about they have to take this test and before they go back to school and incubate themselves for 14 days. How do you do that? When doing the eviction process, their families staying at home, multiple families, because people who have experienced the eviction process are now having blended families. And so we talk about these teachers. There are teachers dying all over the world, and they have families too. And I cannot understand how you have a plan in motion to take care of the teachers' children, and you don't have a plan in motion. This is our community to take care of the parents who have to go back to school. Again, it's so telling of where our priorities are. And so I beg and plead with you. The people who are going to suffer the most are listed as your independent learning children. And I've seen some others come back and say that they need to send those children to school. God is intentional. And you may not want to believe it, but this is the time that we should be putting families back together. And so with that being said, how could you sit up there and say the schools should be open? Dr. Brigham brought up, based on these phases, and nobody cares about your verbiage. People want to understand what you're talking about. So all of this verbiage that you're spewing to the community, they just want to know when kids are going to go back to school, how are you going to put the processes in? And we can't do that right now because based on the science, and the science continues to change with this piece, we don't have the answers. But we know if we stay at home and wait at least until the second semester, maybe we can get a grip on what's going on. Now, I don't agree with everything the superintendent has did, but I do agree that based on the information and the science, that we're doing the best that we can. We've got to stay home, protect everybody in this wheel. We're all a part of this wheel. I'm in the 3rd district, and I'm speaking from Linda Wilder Bryan, a spokesman for the impoverished and neglected neighborhoods. And we continue to still neglect those children who are impacted the most and who will be coming home and bringing these diseases to their siblings and grandparents. And we know that grandparents are directly responsible for the children in this community. So I thank you for your time. I wish that you all consider the science and consider that, we do have the time to wait. And before I'm excommunicated out this chair, God bless each and every one of y'all, but we have to put these children first because they are the ones that count. And we keep saying that we have to ignite a passion for learning at teachers at a high level. Where is your level now? Where's your level now? Protect these children and these teachers. And y'all keep doing what y'all doing. I'm gonna pray for y'all, and y'all please pray for me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Joe Buck, I know what you're talking about.
See, that's not who I thought it was either. Could you give us your name, please?
Oh. Hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to hear us today. My name is Rachel Robertson. I am a resident of Chatham County. I have 3 children, ages 7, 9, and 11. I work in our community. I have a master's in social work from the University of Pittsburgh. I'm clinically licensed to practice both in Georgia and in South Carolina, and I've been serving Savannah and the surrounding counties for about 16 years as a social worker. So I come to you today. I thought when I started here this morning, I was going to talk as a mom, but I think what I would really like to do after listening this morning is to talk to you as a social worker and talk about what is happening in our community, what I'm seeing on a daily basis in our community. I go into homes each day. I do a couple of different types of social work. I do some medical social work, and I'm also an adoption social worker. So I see a variety of people in our community. And I go into people's homes. I don't work in an office. I'm in the community. I go into homes where children are now being left home alone because their mom is, say, an essential worker, a home health aide who makes $10 or $11 an hour. She cannot afford childcare for 2 or 3 children. And the children, elementary age, some are, of course, high school, middle school age, but there are children being left home alone to learn virtually every day. And that's a big problem for our community. And I also am starting to see families having to send their children to live elsewhere. Because, it's hard to imagine for me, but there are pockets of our community that Comcast does not serve. There is no internet access. And a lot of time, these are folks living in poverty. And so they may not have a car to drive to a place where they can access internet. Or if they do have a car, it may not run, or they may not have gas money. There are things disrupting family life on a daily basis in our community that is directly the result of a virtual learning platform. And I know, and I've heard that you are working towards phasing students back in. And I hope that can be done quickly. And another thing that concerns me about what I heard this morning is that there were charts and graphs and all of these things about how, the different red zones, orange zones, yellow zones, and how that affects our return back to the schools. There are a lot of other measures that I would beg you to consider. For example, mental health and well-being of our children. That is important too. And you can't, it's really, really hard to measure, and I understand that, but I think that it's a really important piece of the puzzle. It cannot be whittled down to, this timeline cannot be whittled down to COVID-19. We need to look at a bigger picture of what is going on with our children. And COVID-19 is certainly an important part of that. We're in a pandemic and it needs to be addressed, but we need to look at the overall health and well-being of our children. Are they safe at home? Is there an adult taking care of them and preparing a lunch for them? Those things matter as much as some of the health issues that were addressed with the COVID-19. Our schools are essential. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the American Academy of Pediatrics, others, they've all expressed that our schools are essential. I think that our teachers need to be considered essential too. I understand that we don't want to put anyone at risk, but as a citizen of our community, I see that pretty much everything has gone back with safety measures in place. Even, our churches have started to allow in-person services and things like that. It pains me to see that our schools are the holdout, the last thing that has not figured this out. And I urge you, with that being said, I would just urge you, I read through the proposal, I listened to it this morning, and want to say I don't think it's fast enough. I don't think that months down the road is fast enough for the young children in our community. The parents that can make alternative arrangements and send their kids to private school and pay a sitter have done so. It is the kids who you're trying to protect that need this decision to be fast. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robertson. We appreciate and I certainly appreciate your experience as a social worker. Thank you. Now, according to this, is the next person Mr. Lawless, and then Ms. Hughes, who signed up late, but that's our last two, and then I believe, until someone else comes in. We've had some no-shows. Mr. Carter and Ms. Jackson did not appear, so Carter and Jackson did not appear. He took Ms. Pipe's place. Good morning, Mr. Lawless. Welcome.
Hey, good afternoon. Good to see everyone. Thanks for
it is afternoon.
Thanks for inviting everyone. Let us come in to speak. So many of you know who I am, but for the viewing public, I'm an administrator here in the county. And you heard from healthcare professionals, parents, various community members, and I'm coming to you in a public statement from a school level administrator in a public school here in Chatham County. And some of the things you've heard over and over, I won't touch on, but I will share a few thoughts that I think you need to consider when reopening schools. A majority of parents are wanting some kind of in-person experience for their children. Our parents at our school, they gave us the same sentiments when we surveyed them, and that's the reason we opened. And so I'm here to offer you some encouragement as well. Thanks for calling the meeting today based on the response and feedback you received from last week. That's great. We appreciate you and the administration putting together a plan that wasn't on the table just a week ago. When guidance was given to us by various health officials some time back, infection rates and all those things were given to us at tiered levels of support and things that were recommended at each level. Since then, that guidance has been replaced in tiered levels of supports, and infection rates have been replaced with mitigation and protocols. And I'll talk about our just surrounding area. In our local Department of Public Health group, our district, there's 8 counties, Chatham County being one of those. Out of those 8 counties, there's only 1 county that's not open with on-campus learning. That's Chatham County, with the exception of our school, Savannah Classical Academy. If you compare the populations of those counties to the population of this county, you add those all together, they exceed the population rates, the population of this county. And so when they opened at the beginning of school several weeks ago, the average CTI of those counties was about 354. Several weeks later, with those schools being opened, it's now 254. So reopening schools in all 7 counties has not contributed to a rise in infection rates by the CTI. And I talk about the CTI because that's what's referenced in your reopening plan and what was put out in the survey. To me, the survey was kind of a scare tactic to families because we keep changing what we're talking about with parents. So I would like for you to look at that mitigation plan that was put out that takes away those infection levels and talks about the mitigation protocols. I'm happy to say, now we may have to deal with this later today, tomorrow, or next week, but we've been open since school started and we've had no positive COVID cases from any of our students or staff. We put tremendous measures in place to make sure our families are protected, and they're wanting to come back. More families want to come back to us to on-campus learning, but they can't because there's no transportation offered. So we need that as well. But about 50% of our families now are on campus, where we started at just over 40. And every day we get parents switching models when they work out a way for their children to come on our campus. So I just want to remind you that there are families out there that need a choice, and it can be done. And we're glad to work with the district, talk with the district, collaborate with the district on what we've done in our school. There have been other schools and other counties that have reached out to us, and the counties in Florida have reached out to us as well on what we did to be successful. Now, we're a small microcosm. I get that. We are such a small microcosm, but that's what charters are supposed to be, a microcosm of innovation. Thank you for considering my comments today.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless. Appreciate you being here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ms. Linda. Good morning. Good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Yes, hi, my name is Betsy Hughes.
Welcome. You've got 5 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Dear School Board and Superintendent, as you may recall, I presented my case last Wednesday with the technology Zoom class takeover by students who proceeded to use vulgar and racist language while degrading everyone in the class, including the teacher. This, to me, exposed the vulnerability in virtual learning and became the catalyst for us leaving the public school system for good. In my presentation to you last Wednesday, I asked a number of important questions, none of which were answered in a timely manner or by the deadline that I requested on Monday. In fact, in much of my email communication with the board over the last few days has been met with a runaround, passing the buck, and lots of silence. My questions were reasonable for my family's situation and for many other families across this district. And we are wondering why they haven't been answered. I saw some of them, including the budget and the CARES Act money was answered partially before. So I want to touch on that. I saw that you covered the 4.4 million, but according to public records, it's 5.6 million that was allotted from the CARES Act. So can you please account for the rest of that? It's obvious that the challenges of COVID have revealed the troubling gaps and the deep problems in the management of our public school system. And a lot of us feel that this starts at the top. So I want to remind you of the role of the school board. An effective school board plays an important watchdog role in keeping our local schools on track, setting policies that affect our children and our schools. The school board sets the vision and goals for the school district and holds the district accountable for results, as well as hires and evaluates the superintendent. So my question to you elected board members, if you are our elected officials to represent us and be a watchdog to keep our schools on track, how was the decision to be virtual solely made by one person? And why aren't other sources of data being used, such as the American Academy of Pediatrics, CDC, or DFACS, all of which recommend in-person learning? Dr. Levette, the day you were sworn in May 31st, 2017, you said these words, "I pledge to listen and seek wise counsel." According to your board, you did not hold a vote on the decision of virtual learning, and this critical decision you made without their input. 2 is to lead with grace, strength, and courage, and always put the children first. With the chaos that has been caused by this decision for thousands of families across this county, you are not putting the children first. And 3, so whatever those differences are, children don't deserve to be a victim of those differences. They are the victims here. In closing, you have failed our students, allowing them to slip through the cracks in this situation, perpetuating a cycle of poorly educated kids becoming adults, and your Chatham County families forcing them to live in this logistical nightmare that you deemed too difficult for the board to manage. We need better leadership than this, and we deserve it. I know I'm joined by many parents, caregivers, and voters in our city when I say you need to take immediate steps to set a new tone at the top and truly prioritize teaching and learning for all students. Please stop using our kids as pawns in this lose-lose conundrum. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes.